Welcome to the Kickass review by Confused Matthew and Temporary Ryan.
Hello.
He so graciously introduced me to this movie, which I did not see in the theater, unfortunately.
I did. It was awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to start in a very unusual place because I have to be honest, I'm going to just come out beforehand and say that I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also all over the map about it.
Really?
And so I went all over the circumference of what you can and can't like about a movie and landed on
Mm-hmm.
but I went through all kinds of shit when watching this movie, and just I kind of want to begin in a really strange place because there's this famous movie review going around that Roger Ebert did because he basically just panned the whole thing based on one element of the movie, and that was that you've got an 11-year-old girl doing some pretty fucked up things in this movie. And before I even saw the movie, before I even knew anything about it, I pretty much just berated him for that because I don't feel that you can judge a whole movie based on one thing that you don't like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick true to that. However, I never thought I would ever hear myself saying this in a million years, but while I don't necessarily agree with Roger Ebert in principle, I do understand where he's coming from, and I understand his dilemma because I am of the opinion that if you're making basically a satire, which is what this at least starts out as, for the most part. I mean, it's not a comedy.
More or less.
It's not a comedy, but
Yeah.
it's not essentially meant to be taken seriously. There are things in it that are serious, but
Yes,
essentially...
remember, it's a movie.
Yeah, exactly, yes. At the same time, though, if you're going to say that this is funny because it's fucked up, like you've got a dad who is spending his weekend shooting at his daughter, and at the first time I see this, I'm like, this is really funny because it is so fucked up. And
Yeah.
I was able to laugh at that when the girl is going in there and chopping people up, and he's saying, "Now, honey, remember to watch."
Back to the wall.
I will laugh at that, and I won't complain about it because, you know, I know beforehand that this is essentially a satire. It's not meant to be taken entirely seriously. But they do this weird thing in the end for me where they almost drop the satire altogether and it becomes very serious.
Yeah.
And when it's not funny because it's fucked up, when you drop that funny part, it's just fucked up for me. And I have to say that I was, towards the end of the movie, I was a little more uncomfortable watching some of the things that she was even going through than I expected.
I know, and it feels like it's almost like it's bipolar or something.
Well, yeah,
you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
it is, because you're going from high comedy to this very dark place, and, you know, I'm not saying that it's a bad movie because of this, and I did like the movie, I think it's good. At the same time, however, I do not particularly like watching an 11-year-old girl get punched in the face. And I was a little bit more uncomfortable watching that than I was expecting to be. Because
But the thing is, she's not your average 11-year-old
no,
girl.
she's
She
not.
can
No,
take a
she
punch
is
to
a
the
real.
face.
She can.
can deal with it.
So that's why I'm kind of like, I am really torn between trying to play along with this as just a form of entertainment and saying, you know, do I even really like looking at this? And towards the end of the movie, I was very uncomfortable just sitting there watching it. You know, like, regardless of how it was going to play out, and I know they kind of gave him a happy ending at the end.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between being able to laugh at the fact that this guy is being your average dad while he's teaching her to do fucked up things.
I would say average dad. He is not your average
No,
dad.
but I mean, if you imagine an average dad saying, like, "Now, honey, do your homework," in place of that, he's saying, "No, honey, remember to shoot him in the head."
Yeah, it's time to go kill bad guys.
Yeah. But when it comes down to her just having to watch her dad burn to death, and there's nothing funny about that, then I get into that gray area of whether or not this makes the movie better or worse. It's really
like
putting
that.
me through. Really,
I like how it's kind of like a roller coaster ride. You know,
it really is.
I've always
Yeah.
enjoyed that, like that kind of thing about movies. How, you know, it can be funny one second and then really dark and disturbing the next.
Yeah.
That's
When
me.
you throw a kid into that mix, it's hard for me because I think that there's some subject matter that you have to be really careful with, and I thought they were in the first half, and I didn't think they really were in the second half. And there were a couple of things in that environment that kind of took me out. But I just wanted to get that out of the way first because I know a lot of people were wondering about that.
Yeah.
Putting that aside, this is really a kick-ass movie. I mean, like, the name
name says
kick
it all.
says it
Wow.
all. Yeah, it does. I mean, if you're expecting to see, like, an action thrill ride, as you just said,
Yeah.
you're really going to get your money's worth watching this.
You know, something about the Roger Ebert thing. If I wanted to see a 12-year-old or 11-year-old kid, whatever, do boring, mundane things, I'd go to a Little League game.
Yeah, that's actually I know.
I like that. I thought it was awesome. I thought Hit Girl was the whole movie.
Well, I'm just saying.
And I like seeing. Like I was saying earlier, I like seeing kids use gratuitous language. And stick knives in people. I'm weird like that.
I don't know if I'm gonna say that I like that.
I love
as a form of entertainment, it's not something you see every day.
No,
so you get this little 11-year-old badass who you're underestimating until she starts kicking your ass.
Yeah.
Then that is really interesting. It is an interesting approach, and I haven't seen anything quite like this before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a distinction between looking at this as a form of entertainment and looking at this as, is this even something that people should be watching? But irregardless of the controversy,
Did you just say irregardless?
I said irregardless.
I
really do. I feel like flushing my head down the toilet right now.
This is California, not the Midwest.
I give people so much shit for saying that, and I can't believe I just did it. This is what this movie does to me. It twists me all around.
Oh, wasn't that bad? Come on.
No, it was good. It was good. All I'm saying is I do understand the controversy, and I understand it a little more than I thought I was going to.
I could see how people might find that disturbing.
But if you can get past
nothing
that,
really disturbs me.
Well, if you just look at this as a movie and not trying to decide, is this appropriate, is this not appropriate, this and that, it really is a good movie. There are all kinds of superhero movies that people will write because they fantasize about being superheroes. Mm-hmm. This is a movie about a fantasy about what would really happen.
Oh yeah, I bet whoever originally wrote the comics or whatever, it's kind of like he said about the serial killer thing. You can only go so far with a fantasy until
without really having to do it.
And you know what? You can't really do this. So what's the next best thing? Write about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if someone was actually going to do this, they would probably get picked off a little sooner than a couple people. But this is as close, I think, as they've come to saying, what would really happen if someone went out there and did this? And you probably are going to get stabbed the first. You probably are going to get put in the hospital.
Even if a Navy SEAL went out and did this, I seriously doubt. I mean, they would last longer than the average person.
Yeah, but if a Navy SEAL's going up against the entire mob, they're not going to last.
Yeah, by themselves or with their 11-year-old daughter. Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not going to last long.
Yeah. This isn't the first time that I've seen. This isn't a comedy, but it's not the first time I've seen
elements, but it's not meant to be, I don't think.
But there have been other movies where I felt like it started out in one direction and ends up in a completely different place. Like Pineapple Express, I didn't really get because I'm not really a pothead.
Yeah, and you don't need to be though. I don't think.
The potheads that I do know really got the movie, and I didn't.
I used to be a pothead, and I didn't really get it. I just thought it was funny.
Well, I thought it was cute in the first half, and then in the second half, I felt like they were just killing people for an hour.
Yeah.
And this is kind of along those lines because the first half of this movie strikes a really good balance of being satirical and being serious and being funny, kind of all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a serious thing that this guy is getting stabbed, and then later on they're going to high comedy, like his friends hitting him with things to see, how much he can take and this and that and the other thing. Interestingly enough, I actually felt that the title character was the least interesting part of this movie. I thought the dad and his daughter, when they get into some of the serious stuff about their story, they could even make a serious movie about this and have it be just as good, without the satirical stuff. This is the best performance that Nicolas Cage has done in years, and I think that's primarily...
Really? What about Knowing?
Awesome. He was great in Knowing. You
want some of this? Clack. Dude, I love that.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Don't even get me thinking about that. I just got over that.
Yeah, we know what you think about Knowing.
Yeah, I think
we know what Matthew thinks about Knowing.
But this, I think Nicolas Cage is a lot better when he's doing roles that are not so serious. I think aside from this, I loved him in Raising Arizona because he was such a doofus.
Yeah.
And he's not playing a doofus in this, but he's playing, he knows at the bottom of his heart that he's not supposed to be taking this seriously. And I think that allows him freedom to, when he's overacting and Knowing, it's terrible because you're supposed to take him seriously.
Yeah.
When you're not trying to take him seriously and he's saying things like the shit that he's yelling to his daughter as he's tied to the chair, it's so ridiculously over the top.
Well, I mean, he's burning to death.
Yeah, I know, but he's able to pull that off because this is the environment that he flourishes in. He needs to stop doing fucking movies like The Wicker Man and fucking the Knowing bullshit.
He has to do these movies so he can pay for his island.
He needs to pay for fucking everything, dude. He's in so much debt. He needs to sell Train Island just so he can, afford his apartment anymore. But Who is the girl? Is she essentially
Chloe Grace Moretz? I don't think she's really been in it.
I assume she's pretty much an unknown.
I mean, she's still young.
Yeah. So. She's probably going to have a really good future after this because she pulled everything off.
And they're going to do another one, and
I hope so. Back. Yeah,
and maybe Kickass will be actually Kickass in the second one. Maybe she can teach him a few things.
Yeah.
Like how to jump across buildings.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is like the practice stuff. Like, I thought for as much as I did really like the first Spider-Man movie, I thought when he was trying shit out...
It reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah. And so just the trial and error stuff I thought was really good, and I thought it was really fun. But it's really difficult to get a child actor to do much.
Yeah, and she does it really well.
Everything off, yeah.
And I'm wondering if she actually has but done martial arts training before this, or just for the movie, or what?
I really don't know.
She does it really well.
I don't know.
And then she seems to handle guns really well too.
Yeah, seriously.
Which I mean, you want to talk about disturbing? 11-year-old girl who actually handles guns really well.
It's very strange. I haven't quite resolved this in my own mind yet, because sometimes I don't know how I'm going to feel about something until I've seen it a few times.
Yeah. And this is my third time seeing it, and I don't know. I still felt kind of the same way as when the first time I saw it.
I don't know what the difference is between looking at an 11-year-old girl shooting people to death, which didn't bother me, and looking at her getting beaten up by the guy in the end, which did bother me. I don't know what my problem is, like why I would have a problem with one and not the other. But something about watching an adult beating up an 11-year-old girl, but it makes me uncomfortable. But
I can understand that, but it's like she put herself kind of in that situation. He wasn't
he
didn't just randomly.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, no, he's definitely defending his life.
Yeah,
This girl is a little piranha. She's a badass. But watching her blow away
a Kandiru.
Oh dear God, I have a Kandiru fear, and for anybody who wants to know what that is, look it up and tell me I'm wrong.
It's the penis fish.
It's the penis fish. But yeah, for some reason, watching her blow away a room full of people didn't bother me. Watching her getting beat up did. I don't know. That must be one of those human things that's hard to define.
I don't know, because when I see things like that in movies, I don't care. It's a movie. If I saw something like that in real life, yeah.
Yeah. But for me, I understand it's a movie. It just depends. I don't know. It just depends on the context. Like, if it was an adult beating up another adult woman, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I honestly, I can't explain it. I just... But I am really surprised to agree with anything that Roger Ebert has to say in this day and age. I'm actually
so you do agree with him
I don't agree with him that means this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
This movie was awesome. Yeah, it is. I would not take that to the extreme to say that people shouldn't watch this or enjoy this or like this, because
it's a movie.
For fuck's sake, at some point you do have to knuckle under and say it's a movie. The kid's not really getting punched.
And it's not like they're trying to say it's based on true story.
Or that little kids should go out and do this. I mean, this is rated R. It's not gonna, it has a specific target. So that's my view on the film. Controversy aside, this is a really cool movie. Definitely. And
are we doing a rating system?
No, I don't like rating systems.
Just like or dislike?
Well, they seem arbitrary to me. Like, if I give this movie a 5 and I give the next movie, I say a 6. The only thing that's really going to tell people is that they're both pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'd say if I had to do this, Stan and I do a scale of 1 to 10. Probably give this a 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
Out of 1 to 10?
Yeah.
I'd probably go more 7 or 8.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Regardless, not irregardless.
I was going to say something. I was like, good job there.
This is a really cool movie, and I'm glad I watched it. And I'll watch it a couple of times, and I'll get back to, my shrink or whoever wants to know why this bothered me as much as it did.
One thing, did you ever watch the Terminator 2 commentary?
No.
James Cameron talks about how he thought it would be morally reprehensible to have John Connor fire guns, to have a kid fire a gun or do anything like that, so he only allowed him to load guns. I don't know why our review right now just kind of reminded me of that commentary.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And think about that distinction. You can load it, but you can't shoot it.
Yeah.
And then later on, you're like, you can shoot it, but it can't hit anyone. And then well, it can hit anyone, but it can only hit him in the arm.
Yeah.
And where do we draw the line? What is this line that I'm drawing in my head, and where does it come from? It's a really interesting psychological phenomenon.
Yeah.
However, I'm not going to take that to mean that the movie is bad. I'm not Roger Ebert. I'm not saying... this is...
Well, apparently not, because your voice works, so...
Yeah.
Too soon?
Wow. Good-ass movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Kickass.